Hey, I thought as we bring in our next guest, I thought we'd do this right. We'll do this right. Yeah, we'll play a little of this. This is good stuff. This is a live version, not the canned stuff. We'll get it there. We'll get it down before we get to the rot gut portion of the NEO fight song. Zach Allen, the head coach at NEO, joins us, and that's a Dale Patterson era version. I know it's gotten a lot better.
And, impressive nonetheless. That was good. I didn't expect that.
Hey, for folks out there, and we bring Zach on because his program is fueled 90 to 95% by Oklahoma high school kids. If you looked in the Oklahoman or the Tulsa World this morning, and you see kids from everywhere from Beggs to Tulsa Union to Valiant to I think was there a Shakota kid in there? Did I see Shakota?
You bet.
I swear
Yeah,
I
we got to
did.
go
Yeah,
everywhere.
I swear I did. So again, they're fueled by Oklahoma kids, and a lot of these kids they'll grow up the next couple of years at NEO, and then they'll go on and. As we saw with LaRon Stokes signing with Oklahoma, I mentioned going into the break Patrick McCoffman and Larry Jobert that are current members of the Oklahoma State Cowboy program that come out of NEO. And the unique thing on signing day at NEO is they're coming and going at the same time. You've got guys you're signing, but you also have kids that played for you that are signing with other schools. Let's start with those kids.
Yeah,
Who are
we
some of those kids that have grown up?
including no we had 13 Division One signees, this class, which was good. It's about almost half the entire class itself. It was a smaller class because we had a lot of freshmen from the 2017 class that were kind of the one and doneers, the guys that come and have a great semester and have opportunities after one semester, so or even 1 year, kind of like Patrick McCoffin did in 2016. So we had 13 signees, in total, and kind of headlined, obviously, like you said, about LaRon and Javarius Owens signed with the University of Minnesota, and we had quite a few, and it was a fun day yesterday to see those guys kind of achieve their dreams and their goals, and the whole reason they came here to junior college. And at the same time, we're turning around and signing 46 guys on our side of things. So it's crazy and and hectic, and it's a good culmination of a lot of hard work by our staff, and we can kind of sit back and now focus on the talent we've got on campus already. So we're excited to get more ingrained with those guys, but obviously yesterday was a day to celebrate.
You have a lot of Division One coaches and 4-year college coaches that come through your campus. I mean, you get even more so than any high school in the state, probably.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to a lot of Division One coaches, and I know you were on with Tom Dorado back in December.
Yeah.
I think it was December. It may have been January. I forget when. I think it may have been January. But talk a little bit more about LaRon. That had to be an interesting situation for you. You've got both Mike Gundy and Lincoln Riley coming through your football offices there in Miami. And I know, for you, deep down, you're an Oklahoma State Cowboy. That's where you went to school, and that's what you grew up with. But as a professional coach, you've got to look out and do the right things for your players and help them. And obviously, you weren't going to make LaRon's decision up for him, but you had to make sure the playing field was fair
Yeah,
in the
it was fun.
recruiting
It was fun
aspect of it.
it was fun for our kids because they all look up to LaRon because he's come in and for a year and a half done everything right. Been humble about how he goes about his business, but really worked his tail off to get where he could be in position to have those type of choices. And it was a wild 48 hours there, kind of middle of December, where Mario Cristobal and Lincoln Riley and Mike Gundy all flew their helicopters in here within a 48-hour span. And it kind of hit, right there in the last couple of weeks. And LeRon, I give credit to him to kind of keeping his wits about him and, keeping good perspective and asking the right questions and making sure he got the right information and, not just what kind of shoes he was wearing, more the important stuff. And he made the right decision for him. Obviously, I want Oklahoma State to do absolutely as good as they possibly can all the time in every sport. I think everybody that knows me understands that. But when it comes to being here and having a relationship with these kids, I want the best for them, and that's what ended up being the best for LeBron, and he's going to have a great career there.
Is he a guy, having coached him the last couple of years, and NEO's had a vast number of guys that have gone on and played on Sundays in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Is he a potential Sunday player?
I don't see why not. He's got the frame, he's got the length. He's going to have to eat his way there because, he's still, probably 20 pounds away from being where Oklahoma wants him, which should not be an issue. We should all be so lucky. But he with a little tutelage and he's got 2 full years to play there, and there's no reason why he can't be put in that position. OU sees it that way. I think Oklahoma State saw it that way, and we'll just kind of see how it plays out. But with his work ethic, I'm not going to bet against him.
Before we get to the other half of signing day for NEO, one last question on the 4-year schools, and I have, using some of what I've learned from you. I have spoke since Oklahoma hired Alex Grinch as their new defensive coordinator. I know when he recruited one of your players, I paid a lot more attention to him at Washington State, and that was a year Wazoo got on a bunch, I think, and on Friday nights where you could see them. I remember the win over USC and watching Alex Grinch's defenses and being impressed with them, and then also doing a little study, a little dive into what his philosophy is. This guy's going to be pretty good. No Oklahoma State fan wants to hear OU just hired a really good defensive coordinator, but the fact of the matter is OU just hired a really good defensive coordinator.
No doubt. And when Garrett was up there, Garrett McBroom, a Stillwater pioneer in his own right, came to NEO and went up there and just kind of without knowing a whole lot, it was fun to see kind of that defense evolve with him playing multiple positions on that front. And they were doing a lot of things that, we were interested in because, we're not always the most talented team on the field. We play, six schools in Texas every year, and naturally they're going to have great, college talent. We do too, but, just geographically, there's going to be years where we're going to have to beat teams that are flat out better than us. And Washington State's kind of in that same mold, and to kind of see what he did, with their front and all the pre-snap movement in today's zone game, with all the pre-snap movement that he did, and kind of choreographed to for lack of a better term, to get the count as far as the offensive line and how they're, what linebacker they're double teaming, and who the Mike linebacker is, and those simple questions that every offensive line answers every single play that maybe the casual fan doesn't understand. Those simple little movements that they did, and the pre-snap and the post-snap planning and all those type of things are really was an X factor for those Washington State teams. And it was always a question of anybody who studied Alex Grinch or got to know him a little bit, if he got in a position to have kind of the first-rate talent within a conference, what that might look like. And I don't know if OU will be doing a whole lot of that. I would imagine that's part of who he is, and kind of got him where he is in position to get a job like Oklahoma. if he implements some of that. But man, it could be scary because, just like the Pac-12, the Big 12, it's based on the zone game. It's based on zone blocking schemes up front. It's based on locating who the middle linebacker is or the Mike linebacker is, and all that pre-snap stuff is it's either going to slow down teams, or it's going to confuse teams and in their front seven offensively. So I would imagine you'll see quite a bit of that. It was fun to watch at Washington State. I guess it depends on who you are, whether it's going to be fun or not to watch at Oklahoma.
Yeah. Depends on what color's in your closet. All right. Speaking of colors, you bring in a bunch of different colors of guys that are going to wear gold and blue now. Like I say, all over the state of Oklahoma. Talk a little bit about the guys. I mean, I don't want you to cheat anybody here, but obviously there's some guys that you and your staff have your eyes on that will come in and maybe have a chance to help the Norsemen pretty quick, because you're going to probably have to play some freshmen.
Yeah, no doubt, as we do every year. But, we signed 9 All-Staters, 13 All-State by class. I mean, really feel like we've scanned the state of Oklahoma maybe as good or better as we ever have. And it was kind of an interesting class. A lot of times, a heavy percentage in the Oklahoma City area, heavy percentage in the Tulsa area, and more often than not, a heavier percentage in the Lawton schools. But we were pretty spread out. I mean, we were a little more rural with this class. There was some talent in some of the smaller little pockets of the state that we felt like could help us move forward and be a good part of our program. So you look at the list, and it really scans a lot of area. It scans every class from 8-man to 6A1, and it's going to be what I really love about NEO is bringing all these Oklahoma guys together for one common goal, and they're coming from a lot of different backgrounds, so it's going to be a challenge to get this class playing together. But it's also fun to get so many different Oklahomans from so many different backgrounds, and put them all in one spot. So it was a little different than normal, but we do feel like our staff did a great job in locating the talent in the state, and we just had to put a few more miles on the cars than we maybe normally have to.
Did I count 2 or 3 guys from 6A state champ Broken Arrow?
We had Noah Cortez. We had 2. Yeah, Noah Cortez, who most people saw a whole lot about throughout the season. Was the all-time leading rusher in the history of that storied school, and he's also the number 1 ranked wrestler in the heavyweight division. So you give me a heavyweight wrestler that runs like he does, that plays running back. Anybody that knows me, knows I'm gonna be all in on that cat. So we're excited to get him. Also, running back position, Jacob Bruce from Holbert is the all-time career rushing record for the entire state. Not a lot of people know that because he's hidden down in Holbert, another one of those kind of out of the way places that we had to travel to this year, and we're excited to have him. Trey Kaiser from Sulphur, probably one of the most explosive films I've seen in a long time from a linebacker. And then Keegan Leiniger from Valiant, probably one of the more talented guys that nobody knows about, a 6'2", 210-pound safety that played quarterback, that we're already getting calls from FBS schools excited to hear that he landed at NEO, because that's only going to take his skills to the next level.
Yeah, and I get to hear you talk about some of these guys, and Trey Kaiser and Oklahoma State really. I think Josh Henson, the offensive line coach, was real fired up last year about a kid from Sulphur they got, and Jacob Farrell, big offensive lineman, and I think he's got a chance to play here pretty quick. You were excited, and I got to hear you and your coaches during the course of recruiting talk a lot about this kid Kaiser.
Yeah, and he was a guy that never came off the field for a state finalist in Sulphur that just kind of ran out of steam before they ran into the Heritage Hall buzzsaw. But played the entire postseason with with a sprained ankle and never came out of the game, and rushed normally for over 150 yards and collected double-digit tackles, and went straight into wrestling season. And then he's going to go straight into track season. And I mean, we love guys like that. I mean, that's what recruiting is such a a crapshoot a lot of times. And he's the type of kid, if he had maybe gone to a few more summer camps instead of going to off-season wrestling, or a few more showcase type things, and maybe wasn't hidden down in Sulphur, he may not be at NEO, and he may have already had what he wants. But he's got no regrets within his career. We're excited to have him, and we're just going to be a pathway to his success that we've provided for many years.
All right, let folks know what you're up against, and I know you take pride in it because it means you got to go beat your opponents and win on your schedule, including those Texas teams you mentioned earlier, with primarily Oklahoma kids. But what is the what's the percentage now that you can have from out of state versus your Oklahoma roster?
We're allowed 15 players from outside the state of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And a lot of those we gain at the break, guys that maybe transfer in from Division I schools, or maybe set out a year trying to qualify, or set out a semester trying to qualify late at maybe even at home or at a prep school. So we signed 2 kids from outside the state at this particular signing day, and we'll sign a few more that we're kind of waiting on to see their qualifying statuses that have signed at other Power 5 type schools. But during this time, our focus is 99% Oklahoma. I mean, that's our core. That's what we thrive with. Those are the guys that come in that NEO means something to them, and they've got a little chip on their shoulder. So we'll sprinkle in some guys from outside the state of Oklahoma for sure. A lot of them, aren't your typical sign out of high school. Those type of stories. They're mostly, transfers or, like I said, late qualify kind of situations. So, most of our staff, we don't have recruiting areas essentially outside the state, and we break up the state into seven parts, and we hit it hard, and we try to uncover every rock from every class, and that's a winning formula for us.
All right. Well, that's again, that's good, and looks like you guys. Speaking of 7 parts of the state, looks like you hit every corner with this group, and
Yep.
congratulations. Yep. So I know that, and let me ask you this: this is it because I think fans out there would be interested in this. You're competing obviously against everything from Division I schools, and NEO has beaten some Division I schools during your time there on some kids. And I'm talking about generally the further away, the Wyoming schools that are or the academies.
Right.
You're competing against all the small colleges. A lot of the pool, they're going after the guys you're after, and then in some cases other junior colleges that try and come in and take kids out of the state of Oklahoma. But I think the guys, I'm not saying the biggest number, but maybe the highest quality kids that you recruit and lose. Would I be correct in saying you lose those as preferred walk-ons to either Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, or some of the other larger, maybe Big 12 or close to Big 12 level schools? That's maybe the group you lose the most to?
And that's fair. And the goals of an 18-year-old high school senior that come to NEO are to end up in a year or two at a place like that. And it's hard to argue against a young man choosing, the walk-on path, the way that it's set up now with, that they're able to have the meals and the housing and different things. And you really don't know a whole lot of difference unless you're looking at the bottom line as far as a walk-on to a scholarship player, out there on a practice field. It's hard to argue if a young man's got the resources and the wherewithal and the opportunity to take a preferred walk-on. Not a lot of not a lot of folks that we recruit is that fiscally possible, but for those that it is, it's hard to argue against it. I'd be a hypocrite myself. So, if a young man's got an opportunity to go to a state school and be a part of a program right away and have an opportunity to play one day, I mean, that's why you come here anyway. So, we'd always like those type of players. It shows us that our evaluation of those players is spot on. And I mean, it is what it is. And we don't ever try to talk anybody into playing at NEO. Being the only school in the state that kind of does what we do, it's less about recruiting than it is about educating and finding the guys that this place truly fits.
There you go. And all right. Well, hey, congratulations. I know you and you're proud of your coaching staff because you guys did a heck of a job and have collected some really good football players to continue that Norse tradition. And I will. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon. So I appreciate the time, Zach.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, Zach Allen, the head coach at NEO, and